Hi, I'm Father Jonathan Meyer, and my brothers and sisters, Jesus is alive. He is risen from the grave, and today we celebrate the great feast of Pentecost that is coming up because Jesus wants your faith to be alive in your home. How do we do that? Well, we live in and with the Spirit because we are called to be alive. Join us at allsaintscatholic.net for resources to live the faith alive in your home as we prepare for the solemnity of Pentecost. This week, unlike other weeks when we've been reading the gospel passage, this week we're going to be reading the first reading from the Acts of the Apostles so we can hear particularly the story of Pentecost. So this is Acts chapter 2, verse 1 through 11. When the time for Pentecost was fulfilled, they were all in one place together. And suddenly there came from the sky the noise like a strong driving wind, and it filled the entire house in which they were. Then there appeared to them tongues as of fire, which parted and came to rest on each one of them. And they were filled with the Holy Spirit, and began to speak in different tongues, as the Spirit enabled them to proclaim. Now there were devout Jews from every nation under heaven staying in Jerusalem. At that sound they gathered in a large crowd, but they were confused, because each one of them heard them speaking in his own language. They were astounded, and in amazement they asked, "Are not all these people who are speaking Galileans? Then how does each one of us hear them in his native language? We are Parthians, Medes, and Elamites, and inhabitants of Mesopotamia, Judea, Cappadocia, Pontus, and Asia, Perga and Pamphylia, Egypt, and the district of Libya near Cyrene, as well as travelers from Rome, both Jew and converts to Judaism, Cretans and Arabs. Yet we hear them speaking in our own tongue of the mighty acts of God." The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. This passage here is one that is so powerful. It is the birth of the church. When we celebrate the Feast of Pentecost, we celebrate the birth of the church. We often think about the apostles in that upper room, right? So we know that Pentecost is 50 days after the resurrection. We know that Jesus ascended on the 40th day. And that between that 40th day and the 50th day, which means there's 9 days in between, this is where the church gets the word novena. It's from the 9 days of prayer. The apostles in the upper room, they're still scared. That room in a certain sense is like a womb. The room is like a womb. The room is like a womb. The Holy Spirit comes upon them, and what do? They are birthed out of that room, and they go out. And they live their faith. They are no longer inside. They are now out. This is the birthday of the church. So what about you? Have you been birthed? Are you out living your faith? Or are you still in, safe and warm and comfortable? During this corona pandemic, there's way too many people that are living their faith on the inside. My brothers and sisters, we are called to be out. We are called to allow the Holy Spirit to take hold of us and get us out to our neighbors, our friends, our co-workers, even our own family, our spouse. We have got to receive the Holy Spirit and go out to be birthed and to live our faith. Is it dangerous out there? It can be. Is it scary out there? It can be. But we are called to go out and to live it. This Pentecost, in a very true way, has to call us out to go out and proclaim the gospel to a world that is literally dying. Dying of addiction and depression and anxiety and loneliness and fear and overwhelming trust and obsession with this earthly life. We are called to be born, and every day we're called to be born again, in and with and through the Spirit. Every week with Alive, we have a group of questions for you to ponder. We encourage you to ask these questions in a small group. That small group might be your spouse, it might be your friend, it might be your neighbor, it might be someone you call on the phone. But we want you to delve deep into the scriptures. So, what was the basic story or content that we heard in today's reading? What's the good news in this passage? And in today's passage, who's gathered in that room? Who is in that upper room? And why are those individuals in that room? Why are they not already out? What are the two signs of the Spirit? There's two ways that we know that the Holy Spirit comes down upon those who are gathered in that room. What are the two very clear symbols that are there? What color is worn at Mass? We're already encouraging you, of course. You should know the answer to that one. We're encouraging you to wear red at Mass because that's the color that the priest wears. Why do you think the priest wears red? What does red have to do with the symbol of Pentecost? How many days are between Ascension Thursday and Easter Sunday? And what is that the basis for? How does this reading from the Acts of the Apostles reverse the Tower of Babel? Go back and look in the Old Testament, in the book of Genesis. Look up the Tower of Babel and see how this reading from the Acts of the Apostles undoes the Tower of Babel. For those of you who have been confirmed, I want you to go back and look up what are the gifts of the Holy Spirit? And how regularly do you pray for those gifts? Do you pray to the third person of the Most Holy Trinity specifically? God the Father, our Creator, God the Son, our Redeemer, God the Holy Spirit, the Sanctifier? And what role did the Holy Spirit play in the plan of salvation? Name some specific moments in the Bible where the Holy Spirit is manifested. My brothers and sisters, you are called to live your faith alive. You are not dead. You are alive. Jesus is alive. We have been intentionally, as a parish, striving to fulfill our purpose. Faithful teaching, authentic worship, compassionate service, nourishing, inspiring, and inviting. This alive opportunity is a great grace for you and for me. Let's call upon the Holy Spirit and ask for the grace to be alive. Through God's grace, may it be so. Come, Holy Spirit, come.